Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It's the time of the week again, it's Premier League predictions time. This week is a little different because we have got what the Premier League considered to be a bit of a winter break for half of the Premier League teams, which means this week we've got 5 games for us to focus on in what is going to still be an exciting and intriguing weekend ahead of Premier League action. And then half the teams take a break this week, but then next week, those teams that took a break this week will be in action next week, whilst the teams that are in action this week will take a break next week. I have probably just explained that in the worst possible way, but you eventually will get my point. 5 exciting games for us to look ahead to and to obviously predict. But before we go any further in talking about all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And of course, for you lot to get involved in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, this is a Premier League predictions video. So get in below on the comment section all about your opinions and predictions about this weekend's Premier League action. Would love to hear from you all on how you think each and every single game will go this weekend. But without further ado, let's get on with the predictions. And first and foremost, we have got Burnley taking on Luton, and I've gone with a 2-1 victory in favour of Luton for this one. I think that obviously both these sides are coming into this game off the back of defeats and the same scoreline. Both lost 3-2 in their last outing in the Premier League. Burnley, of course, lost very late on to Aston Villa, and Luton, of course, lost to Chelsea, and what was very much a very spirited defeat there by Luton, in which they were very close to clawing it back from going 3 goals down. It's a big game for both of these sides. Of course, both of these sides relegation candidates. Both of these sides are looking to get one over on the other. And both of these sides are looking at this as a big relegation 6-pointer that I think will go in the way of Luton, because I just see them having a bit more spirit and a bit more of that fighting edge towards them. Not saying Burnley don't. Burnley, of course, picked up the victory earlier on in the season in this same fixture. And so it is very possible that Burnley are going to take advantage of being at home and may even get the victory. But I just see Luton having that spirit and that drive and that determination to get over the line and get the 3 points. Like I say, they were very close against Chelsea. I know their away form isn't the best, but I still think they may have enough firepower, especially maybe, to get over the finish line in this game and get the 3 points. Going to be tough though. Going to be extremely tough. Vincent Kompany's side do play some good football, and you know, every now and again they do show that they've got some fight within them and obviously some firepower in the attacking third. But it's all about their defence. Will their defence stop leaking goals to this Luton side that can play some that can hurt you in a defensive manner? I think Luton will get the job done. I'm going with Luton for this game. Not entirely confident, but Luton is where I am going. Next up, we're at the Stamford Bridge for Chelsea against Fulham, and I've gone with a 2-2 draw for this game. It's a massive game for both of these sides. Chelsea, of course, coming into this game off the back of the 3-2 win against Luton. Wasn't entirely convincing, particularly towards the end of that game, but Chelsea are inconsistent this season and continue to do so. They come up against the Fulham side, who of course beat Arsenal last time out at home in what was a massive victory there for Marco Silva's side. It's difficult to call this one because both of these sides, will be in Carabao Cup action midweek, so that could have that could obviously have some telling in the legs of those players that particularly play in those games. But also, you never know which side's going to turn up with these two sides. Fulham can be great at times, and then they can be free scoring, and they can be very good to watch. They can be tenacious, they can be driven, they can be brilliant to watch at times with their pressing game. And then other times, they're lackluster, they're boring, they are passive. And that's the same with Chelsea. Chelsea can be scintillating to watch at times. Chelsea can be amazing to watch. They can be very exciting to watch. And then sometimes they can be very boring and predictable. Which side is going to turn up for these two sides? Are we going to get a Chelsea side that's going to be on the ball right from the start? They're going to dominate. They're going to create chances, create good opportunities. They're going to take them as well. Or are we going to get a Chelsea side that is going to be good until they get to the final third and then miss a hell of a lot of chances? Are we going to get a Chelsea side that's also going to leak goals? Are we going to get a Fulham side that's going to press, win the ball back, and be a thorn in the side of every single Chelsea player throughout the entirety of the 90 minutes and ultimately work the opportunities and take them when they fall to them? Or are we going to get a Fulham side that's going to be passive and just leak plenty of chances and plenty of goals? I normally would give Chelsea the edge in this game, but I'm never normally good at predicting Chelsea results. Cole Palmer is in very good form. I would expect him to have a big part in this game. But I'm going to have to call it down the middle. I'm going to say 2-2. But again, I'm not entirely confident. This really could go any which way based on how these two sides are very, very inconsistent. And now, next up, we're at St James's Park for Newcastle against Manchester City. A huge game for our Saturday night viewing. And I have gone with a 3-1 victory in favour of Manchester City. City, of course, back in the Premier League, have picked up 6 points from the 2 games that they played since obviously going to Saudi Arabia for the Club World Cup, in which they were victorious in which they had a brilliant triumph in for the first time in their history. Since coming back, they've been professional, they've been solid, they've got the job done essentially in the Premier League and of course in the FA Cup game last week against with all due respect to smaller opposition in Huddersfield, but it was still a victory for them nonetheless. And they come against a Newcastle side who you should never discount completely at home. But at the same time, in saying that, they have been pretty poor recently. Newcastle do have one of the better home records in the division so far this season. Not the best, but still one of the better ones, and so much better than their away form, of course. And you should never obviously discount them or discredit them at home. But it's going to be an interesting test for both of these sides. City, I'm not entirely convinced by yet, because obviously before they went away to the Club World Cup, they were dropping a fair few points here and there to certain teams. I'm not entirely convinced that a win against Everton and a win against their relegation candidate in Sheffield United is really them being back to their best. But of course, this is the time of the season where Pep Guardiola just about turns his side up, so to speak. He slowly but surely lets his side crank through the gears to really turn up their performance levels and their drive and hunger and determination. So it'll be interesting to see in this game if that is obviously be the case. They can't take their eye off the ball here. They can't go into this game thinking it's against the Newcastle side who have been very inconsistent this season and have been hit with big injuries to say this should be a foregone conclusion. The moment they do that is the moment that they drop even more points behind Liverpool. And of course, with Liverpool not playing this weekend, it's an ideal opportunity for Pep Guardiola's side to put pressure on Jurgen Klopp's side before they kick a ball next week in their game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two teams approach the game and how these two teams go about the game. Never discount Newcastle at home, like I keep saying. They've still got players that can do some damage to Manchester City. But at the same time, I would still expect Man City to go on and win this game with the clinical firepower that they have in the attacking third, and maybe even with the full return of one Kevin De Bruyne. So with that being said, I'm going to have to go with a Manchester City win, and I'm going to say that they come out of this one as 3-1 winners and put some pressure on Liverpool going forward into next week. Next up, off to Goodison Park for Sunday's games, and it is Everton against Aston Villa. And I've surprisingly gone for a 1-1 draw here. Now, some of you may be saying that Aston Villa are in some decent run of form. They're, of course, second in the Premier League. They are higher than what anybody expected them to be at this stage of the season before a ball was even kicked in the pre-season area. I've gone with a 1-1 draw simply for the reason that I think Villa's away record isn't the best, and despite the fact that they won last time out in their game against Burnley, it wasn't entirely convincing by by Unai Emery's side. And that was obviously against the Burnley side, who were down to 10 men. So you can imagine that I'm not exactly feeling it for Aston Villa in this game. Now, again, if I had to pick a winner, it would definitely be Aston Villa. I think they have the capabilities and the players to get the job done. But Sean Dyche's side have proven in the past that they can be very difficult opposition, particularly at home. They haven't won a Premier League game in their last 3 attempts. They are on a winless run of 3 games on the bounce. But Aston Villa, like I say, haven't been entirely convincing recently. Everton can be a thorn in the side, particularly when you think that Everton shouldn't get points from specific games. They can be a bit of a thorn in the side of those teams. So that's why I've gone with a draw here. Again, it's more of a gut feeling than anything else. Obviously, on paper, I would expect Aston Villa to win. I think they've got the capabilities, the firepower, and the defensive structure to neutralise Everton's main threats. And like I say, with Moussa Diaby up front alongside Ollie Watkins, I think they have the pace, power, strength, and of course clinical ability to put Everton away. But I've just got a sneaky feeling that Everton are going to be resolute, strong, and they're going to grind out a point by hook or by crook. So again, I'm not entirely convinced, but I am going to go with a 1-1 draw for this game. The points are to be shared at Goodison Park on Sunday. And then finally, it's the big one. It's arguably the biggest game of this round of fixtures. It's arguably the main event of this weekend's Premier League action. From Old Trafford, we have got Manchester United's clash with Tottenham Hotspur, and I've gone with a favourable 3-1 victory in favour of Ange Postecoglou's side. Now, United at home can be awkward, especially this season. We have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of Manchester United all season long. And to be fair, they are still in a relatively respectful position, given the amount of things that have gone against them, the amount of issues they have, amount of things that are wrong with that club. They are still in a fairly respectful position to say that they have been shocking for the most part of this season. But when they've been good, there's been that glimmer of hope that maybe that will be the start and the ignition to Manchester United's season, and they can kick on from that point of view and put up some sort of challenge to salvage whatever remains of this poor campaign. 9 times out of 10, though, it does eventually get extinguished, and they are instantly brought down to reality. They won in the FA Cup. The last time we saw them in Premier League action, they lost 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. That was obviously a week after, or a few days after, their victory against Aston Villa by coming back from 2 goals down to win 3-2. So you can kind of see the inconsistency and the hope that obviously a win brings, and then obviously the kind of fall that is to be expected afterwards. In this particular scenario, I see it happening again. The win of a 3rd round draw against Wigan. I know it's only Wigan, but with all due respect, you can only beat what's in front of you. The win of a 3rd round FA Cup tie against Wigan, followed by what I think will be the defeat against Tottenham. Tottenham are a bit awkward. They're a bit weird themselves. They, of course, are dealing with a lot of injuries themselves, with all due respect. But they are still going very strongly under Ange Postecoglou, and particularly in the firepower department, in the attacking front, they are starting to find more goals. And even Richarlison himself is on a pretty decent goal-scoring run, with all due respect. I just see this being a case of Tottenham are going to tear them apart, but only manage to score 3 goals. And United will hit them on the counter-attack, and they will get a few chances because of the high-line Tottenham play and the kind of very much on the front foot style that Ange Postecoglou likes to inflict on his team. And it will obviously create opportunities for Manchester United to hit them on the counter-attack, which I think they will from time to time, but I don't see them having enough firepower up front to really trouble this Tottenham side in that particular aspect. And especially with the form of the likes of Vicario, I think it's going to be very difficult for United to get many goals in this game, but they'll have many opportunities to do so. I'm going with a 3-1 victory. I think Rasmus Højlund will finally score again for Manchester United in the Premier League. But for Tottenham, I see them cutting United open time and time again and eventually getting the goals that will get them over the finish line for this particular game. 3-1 Tottenham is what I'm going for. 3 points going to Ange Postecoglou's side. It should be a very intriguing battle at Old Trafford for your Sunday afternoon viewing. And that's it as far as what this weekend of Premier League action is concerned. That's it as far as the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy is concerned. I want to know what you guys think, though. What do you make of all the games that are coming up this weekend in half of what the Premier League has in store for us over the course of the next couple of weeks? I would love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That'll make for interesting and great reading, I'm sure, down below in the comment section. So do get involved down there. Obviously predictions as well, mostly important because this is a Premier League predictions video after all, so do get involved in the comment section. I do encourage you all. I would love to hear what you have to say on all of the games coming up this weekend. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Take care. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll speak to you again